Ladies and gentlemen, welcome all to Season 1, Episode 11 of Losing Our Marbles, a Talk for Two. I figured before we finish out this season, it's best to go way back into OG land. One of the first streamers I happened upon. I think we found each other very early on in both of our careers. And I'm glad to have them on short notice nonetheless, here on the stream. Welcome, everyone. CCB.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Welcome, CCB. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated. How's
I'm mid-hosting you right now. I'm so sorry I didn't.
That's okay. We'll pretend none of this happened. I have an alert. It's official. CenterCutBacon hosted. Approved and ready.
Excellent.
Well, welcome, sir. How you surviving? You're in a hot spot, as they say.
We are in a hot spot.
And hurricane season's just starting to gear up on top.
That's what they've been telling me, and we actually have a lot of supplies.
That's good.
We got a lot of toilet paper. We got a lot of food. Good. We got water coming. I got a lot of vape supplies. We've got a lot of supplies, so
the essentials are covered.
Be okay.
The essentials are covered.
Yes, all of them.
Fantastic. Well, as you know, I generally lead the first half.
One thing, bacon, right?
Bacon.
Just
bacon.
to say, bacon, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to get slices and stuff because we've been doing a lot of Instacart. So
but not whole things of bacon?
You can get big bags of bacon bits for not that much. So we've just been getting, you can store them in the closet until you open them. And I saved a shaker. So we do have a lot of bacon. I wanted to just that before we got too far.
Well, it's good to know. It's good to know. And something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that it's not that you don't like bacon. You're just not that big on bacon. You know, it's just bacon, right? It's another food.
I do like to have it around though.
Yeah.
So it was becoming a worry when it wasn't able to be found at the store easily. So bags of bacon bits if anybody's having a problem.
Mm-hmm. Now, are those true bacon bits? Because newsflash.
Oh yeah. No. They're not. No.
Yeah. True bacon bits aren't vegan. In fact, they're vegan, which is amazing.
Yeah, and we do have those for like salads though.
Yeah, perfect for salads. I had them on salad when I was growing up. I loved them, but not bacon.
It's true.
Surprisingly enough, they fooled us all for so long.
I like soykin. It's okay.
Yeah, hey, as long as it's not hurting you, right? That's the big thing. Well, that was question number 1, so that's all good. Florida, you're living, you're surviving. You know, no big.
We got supplies. We're doing all right.
No big. All right. I could go two ways. We could softball or hardball. Are you ready?
We can do either one you want, man.
I'm gonna hardball. I feel like you could take it, and I feel like I'm ready for it.
Let's go hardball.
Okay. Would you care to comment on the cultural view, or if not even just your view, of recreational versus therapeutic mind alteration? And the misconceptions thereof. I know. It's a good, soft, easy question to start with.
That's a good hardball to start it off with. Well, honestly, I feel that everywhere should have medical because there's a lot of things that can be treated, cured, handled a lot easier and a lot more naturally through the use of it. Also, Rick Simpson oil. That stuff just works miracles on people. That they're hopeless. This is the last thing they're going to try. Boop. Whatever it is. From brain tumors, all sorts of things. More research is needed.
It said not medically verified. We do have to legally state. Yeah. Not medically verified.
No.
But cases have happened. But
I've read a lot of stories, man, where it was like this was the last ditch thing that they tried, and the person's still around, or the thing has cleared up a lot, or they can manage it, or whatever it is. But a lot of it needs to be taken into a lab, looked at, and gone, yep, that's that's it right there. That's what did it. So I think a lot more research is needed. I think that people, again, there's a lot of people on the medical in Florida that they're really bad off, man, and their quality of life is improved by it. Because I have participated in the medical pool before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's gotten a lot better too. At the time that I did it, it was very sketchy.
Right, because now everything's a bit more regulated.
Now it's a bit more regulated and everything, and I've heard stories that you can there's a lot of different doctor options now, as well as like online, that'll verify you for a much longer time.
Right.
Then one of the things was they'd have you come back like 2 months later, and so like every 2 months you were coming in and paying for a two to
Right.
$500 appointment and you got to come back every 2 months to be allowed to use this. But now I've had conversations with people. Now it's a lot different. You can get you can get somebody said you get verified for like a whole year if it's a condition where it's like, okay, this is going to be a persistent condition, they're going to have it for a year, come back in a year, we'll see what's up.
Right.
And I think that should be everywhere. As far as like recreational, I think that if it were to come in, that I would want to see the quality side of things very heavily regulated, because of the vitamin E distillate happening.
Yep.
And really throwing a lot of people off a nicotine vape, which is a completely different story, and killing some people as well.
Yep.
So when it comes to recreational, I think they need to be, when they come into new areas that they're doing it, and in areas that they have it, that, you know, it's going to be hard to regulate and check everything, but really try to put penalties in place that is going to make a store owner look at a shady option for distribution and really think twice if it's worth like their entire business. Because I think like these people, the vitamin E distillate whole thing, that was all last year, and and I think another poor fella kicked it because of it not too long ago. But it's like, if nobody knows what I'm talking about, the cartridges that have become so popular all over, and in medical, in the medical thing, that's like 90% of it. Bud is very, at least in the Florida system. I'm sure other systems are different, but there was a time where the Florida system didn't even allow what they call leaf, the proper name, at all, and it was all distillate or vape or some kind of concoction with terpenes, and that was all you could get. Now that's changed a little bit, but I would still say like most of it is these cartridges. These cartridges are just wildly popular, and that scares the crap out of me personally, because it's so unverifiable. So I think that heavy regulation needs to come in on, okay, you want to have dabs, you want to have butter, all these different forms they got. I don't even really go into as kind of like an old school type of person, but I think I've seen them all done right. And if done right, it's wonderful. It's only when you have people that see this new market, they're going to go after that new market, and they're going to sell things that are possibly God, in that vitamin E, it's oil. What is in there is not oil. It's not supposed to be oil. So these poor people that had this done to them. So I mean, I think I'm for it, man. But like, unlike my younger self, I'm not just like bring it here by any means possible. I want it to be brought here like properly. I want people not to be in hospitals because they thought they were, you know, maybe it's somebody who doesn't want to do alcohol anymore and finds it a more reasonable option for recreation. I don't want them to walk into this new store and, oh, try this cartridge, man. Oh, it's the best, discreet, doesn't smell. Wife will get off your butt, you know, stuff like that. That'll make you want to buy it real quick. And, like, there you go. That person's life is ruined because one person said, oh, man, vitamin E, freaking oil looks kind of like this oil. We're gonna half and half it. So heavy. I guess I'll end that question with bring it, legalize it, but let's make sure that the people coming into the business, not too hard to come into the business. If somebody's got a big lump of cash and they're willing to jump through your red tape a bit and, get there, then I think more, people should have the opportunity to get in on it, but make sure that you got the right people getting in on it. That'll
Yep.
finish that.
And coming from Colorado, I've kind of seen the other like more polished side of it, as it were, because they've been out for a while now in Colorado.
And Bud is, I'm sure
And
Leaf is
it's
huge
no
over
different
there.
than liquor stores. You just drive by. They're
Wow.
all regulated. They take your ID before you walk in. It's one person at a time.
Sounds incredible.
It's lovely. Just do it right. That's all.
Exactly.
That's all. And if I may throw out strange way, this goes back into more of my philosophical high logic, I guess I could call it. The unreasonable part of logic, where you actually carry things to natural conclusions. Instead of just stopping when it's comfortable. In my mind, it's kind of baffling that you could ban a native plant from the country it grows in, right? And
absolutely,
that goes beyond that, right? Any mushroom, the cocaine plant, they're all like, I understand the concerns.
It could go Portugal. We could do. I wouldn't. Portugal's situation is very interesting. How crime went down, and
right, because no one has to seek illegal means for their vices.
Nope. I mean, honestly, I would be behind stuff like that. I know a lot, it would be very unpopular, but it's kind of like evolution, man. If somebody's gonna go out and they're gonna get, a Tony Montana bag of cocaine and do it every day, like, and what Portugal does offer help. That's one side of it that's good as well. Like if you're like, oh shit, I went too deep. They'll are we allowed to cuss on this? I don't even know.
Yeah.
We're good? Okay.
We use the full brunt of the English language on
Figure
this
the subject matter we're on right now. But yeah, I mean, if somebody's gone too far, I think they should be an option.
And we have that with alcohol. Alcohol is legal, and there are state and federally sponsored alcohol rehabilitation programs.
Yeah.
So it's, it's all part of the trade.
I didn't even need one of those, man. I just quit it. It was crazy. It was just talking to, I don't know if you know this, but I haven't had a drink in 4 years, and it's either 9 or 10 months. I'd have to recount.
Congratulations.
But it was just, with me, I know Charlie Sheen freaking said some crazy crap like he was sick or something, and he turned a switch and just turned it off. But if he did truthfully do that, I kind of understand it, because it's kind of what I did. There was the last drink, and that was October 30th. That's a whole nother story. That'll be season 2, man.
All right, now, we'll save it for season 2.
Now I just told myself over and over, you don't drink, like in my head over and over, and it worked. It freaking worked. 4 years later, I don't do that. I don't have to sit here and tell myself that. I can be in a bar setting with a bunch of friends getting totally hammered. I will have probably done something before we went to the bar, and the bar will most likely need to have food if I'm going to stick around for a while. But I can be in a set. Oh, if it's a barcade, we're set. I can just play video games and stuff. But like, I didn't want to be the person that quit, and then everybody was like, "Oh, we can't hang out with that guy because that guy doesn't drink." And it's like, I wanted to make sure everybody was like, "It's cool if you have beers and stuff around me. I don't care." So I accomplished. Did it without any help externally, really. I went to one meeting and I didn't have a good experience, but I don't like to tell that story. If AA helps you, man, go for it. But I went to one, and the particular place I went, the particular crowd that was there at that particular time of day, I'm trying to make sure this is very focal, just this one group.
It was not a group of people you identified with.
No, man. I was like, I am out of here. I just don't drink.
That's the safest way. That's the safest way to put it. It's just not a group of people you identify with.
That was it. We didn't see eye to eye. That was it.
Fair enough. And I know a couple of people who have been in a similar station use where they just, they either for health reasons or just mental reasons, they just say, this is not good. And they're just going to stop
I just
straight
couldn't
up.
stop, man.
Yep. And kind of the technique you described reminds me of one of my friends who is a NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And one of the tricks he recommends to people who are trying to overcome, whether you're just trying to change your diet or make a healthier life choice, is repeatedly create situations in your mind where someone offers you something and you say no, right? So you just every time you're just kind of idle, like you're driving in the car, you're walking to your job, you're going to the grocery store. You just imagine what if that person offered me a piece of candy? I'll say no, right? Because he was cutting out sugar. That was his example. It's just you're at a party, people are handing out candy. It's like, no thanks, I don't need candy, right? And you're the idea is to make it natural, make it not a big deal, just make it another automatic response.
And then you don't. Again, I ran into him a few times, and it's like, oh, it can't be here because if you're drinking, then they're gonna be upset that you're drinking. And it's like I never wanted people to feel uncomfortable about it around me, and I did, in my mind, do stuff like that. I also read Lao Tzu, flow like water, a number of other quotes that he has. Lao Tzu, I don't know where I should have my translation closer to me. I was reading that for the first year straight, was just randomly going into it because pretty much he just lived in a hut and philosophized about life, but he was happy, man. He didn't have a damn thing and he was happy, and that made him the richest man on the planet. And it was an interesting, everything I was reading from the one translation I have. When you talk about Lao Tzu, you're talking about tons of writings. This was a particular book, particularly new translation, and I enjoyed it very much. But if you want to look into Lao Tzu, you can find tons of translations of many of his works and tons of ways to look at it. And just the one thing that Lao Tzu, Bruce Lee, flow like water.
Yep.
It's the easiest thing.
One of those empirical truths, as some would go so far as to describe it. Just that.
Drink a shitload
that kind of
of
goes back to what I was
too.
talking about in a stream earlier about the preservation of gray matter over white matter in the brain, right? Is the white matter is your facts, your habits, your perspective on the world. Your gray matter is your problem solving, your novel experiences, your adaptability.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the idea of preserving gray matter is keeping as much of your brain as flexible as possible and not letting it solidify into debunk states.
I would think gaming helps this, right?
Gaming, it's one of the things when people talk about companies looking to professional gamers for hiring, is because they're in that team building, live problem solving, and not just live problem solving, live confrontational problem solving. That's something a lot of people misjudge about the value of gaming is, you could solve a Rubik's Cube, but the Rubik's Cube doesn't try to unsolve itself while you're trying to solve it.
That's true.
But if you're in a StarCraft match, not only are you trying to kill your opponent, your opponent's trying to kill you.
I love multiplayer.
Right. So it's these ideas that those kind of novel, unpredictable situations force you to suspend a large portion of your brain in a flexible configuration, able to adapt to tiny little details and nuances as you pick up on them, and then reset that back to default every time you engage back into the situation again.
That's fascinating, dude.
And that really, the best metaphor for that kind of flexibility and reliability really is water. It has that kind of same
there you go.
metaphorical properties. So yeah. I mean, we're only 20 minutes in, but I'm done. I'm good. This has been great. Thanks, CCB.
That's it?
That's great. Fantastic. That's it? We went crazy. It was great. I loved it.
We got it?
That's it. We're good.
Was that the shot? I need to get chat up. I don't have chat up. So I feel bad.
Well, you should be able to see it. You should be able to see it on your screen that I'm showing.
I need to make that bigger.
But all right. Well, let's.
Okay, I can see it better now.
I guess this is kind of related. So
I brought a ton of questions too.
Hey, well, if you have anything particularly relevant, that's fine. But again, the second half, you
Let
can
me
go.
look, because
That's when you
this
take.
is some good questions.
But sure.
I don't think so.
I'm-
These are mostly gaming and stuff related.
That's all right. It'll come up. It'll come up. I'm actually slowly working my way there.
I like this. I like your show, man. I like this. This reminds me of Adult Swim. I freaking like it.
Fantastic. So speaking of Adult Swim, that's kind of where my next question was going. Is like, how do you maintain the vibe of your stream? Because I have kind of a mentality that I kind of set as an expectation for my chat, and
I think we do.
I think you have
organized
a way of
chaos,
maintaining a vibe. Is that like a passive, or is it more of a conscious?
No, I
management?
think it's passive. Other than the glasses and the hat and the tee, and I wore stuff like this long before I streamed, so the attire was easy. It really is just a lot of the times organized chaos. And lately, I've wanted a more chill vibe, so we've been doing super chill things. So the vibe changes too, and it's not something I've ever really like held a standard to. It can be hype, it can be chill. It's whatever I'm feeling on the day. Because I know, and I like structured streams. I love them. But I don't think I'd be good at it. There's a structure, but it's not, I don't know how to describe it, man.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The vibe maintenance. It's just passive, man. I don't ever try to really set a vibe. I just respond to people.
It's an interesting concept. More or less maintaining the rapport, as it were.
I let it set itself, and it's just been this long conversation that's gone on for like 2 years now. And people have wandered in and out of it, and I think there might be two original people left from the original conversation.
That's a really interesting way to view the concept of a stream, or at least a streaming community. It's really that never-ending conversation.
Yeah, that's what it is too. And when people don't want to talk anymore, they leave. And when and sometimes they want to come back and talk again, and they show up again. And I always welcome them. I never have animosity to. I think somebody came in the other day from like, maybe it was like a month ago or so, but they hadn't been there since like. There's clips on my stream of my very early streaming days. I didn't take them down for A, because they weren't muted, and B, it was something to have on the channel, so you can look at me way back, and I left that on the channel on purpose so that you can, if
historical
you felt
record.
like it, holy crap, how far it's come.
That's kind of how my YouTube's structured. Is it's just an archive of the progress
man,
of the stream.
YouTube's amazing, dude. I was pawing through.
I had someone mention in my chat that they were binging through the content. I was like, what?
You got
never thought someone would actually binge through it all.
Standard Damage was a good one.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
But I like I like people who structure their streams though. I enjoy their content a lot, and it makes me think that I should try to structure more somehow.
Well, it's in that competitive region of streaming, right? So I know you're trying to like reestablish a base in a different area of Twitch.
Right.
So you might not be at a competitive point in your stream. You're more in a discovery period right now.
Just kind of chilling.
But,
it really is a chill vibe right now.
Yeah, but in that competition sector, it's really like kind of fitting the habits of viewers. It's kind of like a TV lineup, right?
Of success as well too. It usually equals success, because what it does is it spreads the name more.
Right.
You're doing content here, you're doing content there, and that will spread, and it'll catch up with it. So, like you just said, somebody going through and binging through all the content, and it's blowing your mind, which is the rewarding part as well.
Yeah, actually, I had two people come into the stream yesterday. They're like, "Wait, are you doing the 1 hour track tonight?" I was like, "Sorry, guys, tilting tonight."
See, and they're coming in and
Right.
expecting the events,
And that's the
man.
thing,
It's your
but
stuff.
there's that habit. So it was like kind of reassuring to get that feedback that people actually like remember. Oh yeah, 7 o'clock
Aw.
Friday, get to Shen's, right?
And that
So
and I need to come through for that. I need to make it to entering the race because I always find myself sitting on the couch watching the race, and it's interesting to even just watch it, not being in it.
Mhm.
But I never. It's 9, right?
7 p.m. my time Eastern,
So that's 9.
but
I should
still
be,
going.
Wait,
Still
Eastern?
going by 9.
Okay, 7. Okay. See, I have ADD. I'll be honest. That's probably why the stream is the way it is. But I just there's so much, man. You even said it in my chat the other day. There's so many people and there's so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to see it all. But it's hard to get to it all. But that is one thing I want to get to more. 7 freaking p.m.
And for anyone curious, schedule is found down below, or you can just watch the trailer video. Speaking of which, the schedule will be changing next season, so be on the lookout for new series and more things.
Sounds
Yeah.
exciting.
Just had to sneak that self promo in there. Sorry.
That was good.
And it just happens from time to time.
It felt natural. I liked it.
So, on that note of more scheduled events and like finding, so I have a question here, and again, if you have one that comes up related, because now we're getting into more like marbles stuff. There's Marbles the game, and there's Marbles the community. And you and I have been round long enough. Round long enough. Was that Floridian enough?
I was in the game before I streamed it.
Was that
playing
Floridian
it.
enough for you there? Round long enough.
Been around a while. But I played it long before anything else.
We've seen the development of both, right? So
Oh yeah.
people who are getting in now are seeing the development of the community more than the game. And the people who go way back then saw the development of the game more than the community. And
think
people
that's
who have
true.
been through since then have the pleasure of seeing both. I would put both of us in that category. I was a little late to the party, didn't get there till season 6 or 7. But
Yeah, but that's still real early, man.
Still early enough, I think. So, extrapolate, expand, pontificate, if you will.
Well, I don't. What? Okay,
Marbles
I
the
remember,
game,
okay,
and
I
Marbles the
remember
community.
when Tilted was coming out, right? I
Ooh,
remember
season
that.
11.
And
Yeah.
this is the question. What attracted you? Because from the beginning, and I remember it, and I still love Tilted, by the way. I just don't. I need to play it more. What was it, man? Because you were,
Couple
and
things.
you're good too.
Couple things. One, I never shy away from something new, right? There's one weird caveat I have where, like, with social media, I always wait, right? Like Facebook, when I was in college,
Agreed.
every college student had Facebook because back then it was only college. And I didn't get it till 3 years later, right? And the reason was I wanted it to stabilize, right? Because when you're building a new fabric of society, essentially, it needs to be made of the right material. And as we
gotta
found
vet it
out,
a little bit.
recently, Facebook is not exactly the best fabric. But I don't think those kinds of things would have shown before they were globally accessible, right?
I deleted mine so long ago.
And then, same thing with getting a smartphone. I had a flip phone for a very long time. I was like, I'm just going to let society fully inoculate itself in the world of having a smartphone to work out all that stuff and go through. And then same thing with Twitter, same thing with Discord, like each of those kind of things. So that's like my one exception to hesitance. And
I've noticed that I've done a lot of these things, but I didn't do them with the thought that you did.
Right.
I just kind of. You have great poetic thought.
When
man.
you see stuff like with what's happening with TikTok right now, right? Like that's exactly why. Like I've been literally debating on getting a TikTok for the last 6 months.
I made one, but I didn't put anything on it,
Right.
and I was like, ha!
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about, is why I find social media a bit of a different category as far as resistance to new things. But
I
outside
had a
of that
feeling
realm,
about TikTok, by the way. I don't know. It blew up too quick, man.
well, it's designed to though, right? And that's like we're
Right.
rabbit holing real fast all over the place right now. I'm trying to I'm trying to finish one before we go to the other.
I got
But,
you. Let's finish that one.
With Tilted, and I talked about this in a stream earlier this week, actually, is that innovation's always met with resistance. So that's something I always forego because, the resistance is going to be there. People always have that snarky comment, so busy if they could, they didn't think if they should. But the fact of the matter is it didn't exist until it could, right? So there's no way to even contemplate if you should with something that hasn't existed. The infinite complexity of the human network cannot be predicted with unknown elements. With known elements, absolutely. History repeats itself. Society follows cycles. Governments rise and fall. These are things that have been established for thousands of years.
It's all true.
But when you have something that has not existed, like instant global communication or live entertainment that's globally accessible, right? Like these are things that haven't existed before. So you can't predict how it's going to change the world, right? So the whole snarky comment of so busy with could they didn't think about should, it's like that's because there's no way to think if you should. You have to develop it first, then you can stop and reflect and go like the atomic bomb, right? Like, okay, first we had to make one and then we're like, oh wait, maybe this doesn't work.
Maybe possibly AI.
Right. And AI, exactly. We have to make the AI first. Then we can be like, oh, maybe not. Right? So, or maybe yes. We don't know yet. Maybe we don't get to make that choice. Maybe the AI gets to choose. So, I always forgo the resistance to innovation because there's enough of that already. And then the other thing is the shying away from that difficulty / long form. Because Tilted, I think people misunderstand. The levels are a lot faster than races, but the run, 3 hours, 4 hours,
Yeah,
5
it takes
hours.
a while.
It's a long form stream. And I've commented in previous episodes about, the difference between short-term and long-term improv and how I respond to that. But I think that's one of the things people don't understand. So like they start tilting and they're like, oh my God, it's been like 2 hours and I'm only on level 12. Like that's like, right? It's like, oh, wake up call.
That's about my pace.
And then the difficulty sets in too, where, people are like, oh my God, I have to start all over again.
That bridge is now moving and rotating.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's another thing I don't shy away from, right? So just because something's difficult doesn't mean it should be written off. And most oftentimes should be pursued, And my example last time was, it's almost impossible to make a profitable, successful overnight delivery business. But some of the biggest companies right now are overnight delivery businesses.
That's true, yeah.
Like, just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
They're getting a heck of a lot of our business, man. If we can get it from somewhere else other than Instacart, we are right now. Like, we are stocked up. Anybody who's kind of worried, we are. I'm very happy she went into kind of like stocking mode, and then she's even got these boxes in like a closet, and like in 2 different closets, and she's got a list of all the stuff in there as well.
Oh, nice.
We're pretty.
You got an inventory.
I feel kind of guilty, but I feel thankful. Mm-hmm. So weird.
Well, I mean, you're in unsure times and in unsure regions, so
yeah,
you need to take care of yourselves.
We stocked up, baby.
As long as you're willing to help out your neighbor, which I know you are.
We can. Once you finish on Tilted a slight bit more, or if that was it.
Are we still talking about Tilted? I've lost track of this.
We can move on if you want, or we can still talk, because that is the next step. We have a coop coming. A chicken coop is on the way.
All right, let me finish tilting real quick.
Finish your tilting, because
tilting's hard, tilting's novel, tilting's amazing. Fuck anyone who doesn't like tilting.
You're the best at it, man. You are, dude.
Dark Madden though. Dark Madden.
Dark Madden's pretty good.
Dark Madden.
They're in chat too. You came out of nowhere. I mean, I guess you know.
She's gonna look at that hashtag Renegade Army. She's gonna overthrow the Tilted Army.
She's got a hashtag and everything. Oh my gosh.
She's coming for us. What are we gonna do?
Well, out of the OGs, man, there's no tilter like that, man.
But just being able to, think about an object, a new idea, outside the context of innovation resistance, outside the context of whether or not it's difficult or hard or whatever. Just trying to imagine how does this grow in the world? How does this change the world? And
I see so many people tilting now too.
Right, and I knew it was coming. That's why I've been pushing since day one. So
you did good.
Like I knew it was going to happen. So that's why
I knew it had potential too. I didn't know how much, but the way you taken it and you do the tournaments.
I thought this season was going to be the explosion, but this was just the rumble. The explosion's next season, because next season Pixel's been talking about getting rid of bonus energy, so you'll have replenished energy, but you won't get more back than you spend ever, which means you'll only net loss over time. So more people are going to be running out of energy, and where they come?
Right over to Tilted.
The Emporium's open, baby. The Emporium's open, baby.
Nighttime.
Come
tilting.
on in.
I'll probably do some. I will probably do some tilt runs in the future. I promise you.
And I'm
not done with tilting.
Pro tip: if you want to keep that kind of anchor in the marbles community, if you just grind to 21 and reset, that's your highest point efficiency.
I can get,
well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So even you don't have to be good to capitalize on grinders with tilting. If you just go from 0 to 21, less than 2 minutes a level, 30-second timer, and just keep vamping it 3 or 4 times, that's actually the most efficient point grind. Because once you get up to the blues, if you can't beat blues under 2 minutes, it's not worth the time to get just 3 points. So restarting at 21 is actually beneficial to the grind. So you don't have to be good at tilting. You just have to be reliable.
I could see just starting upstream a few times a week if I could figure out which days.
Yeah, just set a date to it. Up and going back to that whole schedule structured stream we were talking about. Just pick a day.
Yeah, there we go. We need
1 day a week.
I need to get into that.
Bacon tilts. We
do have a starting time Monday through Thursdays, 10 a.m. That's hard in stone. Hard in stone. And then Friday can fluctuate from 10 to 12, but yesterday it didn't. It was 10 a.m. So we're getting the time we start down, and now I just need to start pinning down. This is what will happen here. I know I'm gonna have some raid in South Park Phone Destroyer because I am just that game. That game has me in its rabbit hole.
Speaking of rabbit holes, that's one of my questions. Communal farming, future of it. Are you participating? Communal farming.
Well, what we're doing to try and help is we have a chicken coop coming. I think this is what we were going to, right?
Yep.
I have a chicken coop coming. We're going to get 4 chickens, and there's no way a chicken makes an egg a day, apparently.
Yeah.
And with 4, that's a dozen every 3 days. There's no way we're eating a dozen every 3 days. So we can't sell it. So we're just going to, whenever we get an extra dozen or whatever and we have enough, we're going to give it to the next neighbor. And then whoever's up next, we'll give it to the next. We're on a corner. So we kind of have we got a number of neighbors all the way around, or people that we know.
Several within arm shot.
And what I can do is just somehow, the people go out in their yard, and I can go just, hey, you want some eggs?
Eggs?
And basically, yeah,
eggs?
Exactly.
Eggs?
And just do something like drop it on the door. They know it's coming, and then I run away. And then they come get it from the door real quick.
Give the old courtesy spritz as you leave.
Real quick, yeah. Be careful, man. Be careful out here. Don't come to Disney, man. These people going to Disney.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait a minute. Just wait like a year or two. Come on back.
It'll still be here. Trust me. Disney's not running out of money anytime soon. They're not going to close up.
In fact, they've got a lot under construction. They're changing a lot right now.
Right.
So.
That's the best part is they're taking advantage of the situation and making it better and new. So, wait.
I mean, when they redo Planet Ship Earth, and it's 5 years from now, I may have to go take a look. I went to Disney a heck of a lot, but on the chickens, before we leave chickens, So we're gonna have eggs going, and then I'm gonna get a camera and somehow incorporate chickens into the stream. So that's another plan.
Chicken cam.
That's another plan. Chicken cam.
My stream
of
fully
some
supports
kind.
the idea of a chicken cam.
That's what I'm saying. And not only just if I can afford it, because they're only $50, so it's like 150.
Yep.
3 cams, egg laying cam, sleeping cam, outside run cam. I think that would be interesting, honestly.
And pro tip: don't wash the eggs. Eggs have a cuticle on them. I'm sure you've done your research.
She did the actually she took the class.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm getting the information secondhand from her. So I would watch whatever the process was that she had some guy in a neighboring town or two over does worldwide chicken classes, and on the particular day that she was doing hers or that he decided to call, there was nobody but her. So
nice.
She got to talk to
one-on-one.
Yeah. Like it was like 2 or 3 hours. So she knows a heck of a lot about chickens now. She's very good. This is why she does it. She's very good at soaking up information like immediately.
Right.
And then like retaining that information. I take a few more minutes to capitalize on such information.
Brains and bronze. It's a good partnership.
Oh yeah, if it's heavy, I pick it up. I do that.
But yeah, the eggs have a natural cuticle on them, which is naturally designed to be antibiotic. So if you wash the eggs off, you wash away the cuticle, and that's when they have to be refrigerated, and that's when they go bad in 4 weeks.
Right.
But an unwashed chicken egg is going to keep for at least a month unrefrigerated. So.
Yeah, there was something about that which I was fine, and they're all different colors.
Yep. All depends on the chicken.
You were on a farm, man. You actually, man, I didn't know anything
3 years
about.
4-H,
I'm gonna
baby.
love these darn things. I know I am. They're so cute when we're looking at these pictures and looking at which ones we're gonna get. Anyways, that was my talk on chicken.
Fantastic. Do you think?
I can't wait.
Because there's always the hippie post of like we need to go back to communal farming, and it's like societally I disagree. But what's your thought? What's your thought on this?
When you do what you can, we got to have stores and stuff, man. You got to be able to like go buy some lettuce if you want to go buy some lettuce. But like, if you want to grow it and you want to share it in your community and you want to share that with everybody, I think that's a great idea. And I came from a place, they don't have them so much. Well, maybe I haven't been looking because nobody's really been going out. But at a time that had some pretty decent farmers markets.
Yeah.
And you can find some really cool, interesting stuff that a grocery store is just not going to carry because, like, nobody really eats whatever type of
mustard
kale
greens.
that is or whatever the type of rapini that, like, different variants.
Yeah.
So I think communal farming's good if you're not trying to say, like, that's what all society should do because I feel like you got to have store, man. Yeah. There's going to be times where, oh, crap, the lettuce didn't work out.
Yep.
And then, if you're completely dependent on communal farming, then there's not going to be lettuce for however long, and that could be anything. I don't know.
And I think that gets back into the conversation Bax and I had about, like, libertarianism. It's like a lot of times people don't realize what it means when they say it. So much like not having taxes means the government literally gives you nothing, no school, no roads, no water, no nothing, right? Like, once you start thinking about what it means, and communal farming is the same way, right? It's like, okay, you can communal farm, but that means you can only eat lettuce 4 months of the year.
Well, there you go.
You need to.
I didn't even know that. That sucks.
You need to grow enough winter squash to last you 6 months from November through March, and you will be eating nothing but winter squash for those 6 months, because the potatoes you grow are only going to last about a month before they start turning green and sprouting.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
The garlic you grew isn't going to feed you because it's, good luck eating 2 cloves of garlic every day and surviving off it, right? Your tongue would fall off.
Well, no, I could,
right? Like,
I'm pretty good at cooking, but I don't know about 2 entire cloves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, so in order to live year round on a communal farm, right? They don't realize, like, you don't get an apple in February. You don't get raspberries in September, right? Like,
I mean, if you want it, if there's these places exist and you want to cut
Yeah.
yourself off
Yeah,
and you
go
want to
ahead.
go
Go
do
live
that,
off the
feel
grid.
free.
Go right ahead.
Yeah,
right
I don't have a problem with it being in practice, but don't. I want lettuce. I want an apple in February.
And that, again, that goes back into my more like higher philosophical argument, is that if humans really need to succeed, as far as I would define their success, it's ensuring
I'm
the
gonna hand
continuation
this water
of life.
bottle off real quick.
Go ahead. I'll continue the conversation. And the cat's going to chime in as well to fill in. But to succeed as a human race, in my definition, it's to ensure that life survives beyond Earth, right? Because Earth will end, and life on Earth will end with it unless we escape.
I'm a big NASA guy, so I'm with you.
You're not leaving Earth if everyone's communal farming. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm sorry. You have doomed all life on Earth.
You literally
to death.
have to like dedicate all your time to it.
Exactly. So, like, there's a lot of arguments out there for, non-industrialism.
Free time is where innovation happens.
Right. And yes, there are problems, but supporting it and working those problems out is much better than just not doing it altogether. Because it's going to happen with or without you. So you might as well be a part of it and guide it in the right direction instead of just writing it off.
That's why I love what SpaceX is doing. I never really say exactly where we are, but I will say that we follow SpaceX closely and can see the launches often and everything they're doing, man. Go. Keep on innovating that spot, because it's. I know a lot of people are like, we got to solve the problems here, and it's like, all right, well, while we're solving the problems here, somebody's got to be in the back trying to solve the problems we're gonna have way down the road that grandchildren, great-grandchildren. All these people are going to have to deal with.
And not even that, because, meteor could come anytime. The next Earth destroyer could be on its way in a month, and we have no clue. Right? So
that Neowise is gone now. I saw it a little bit.
It was a pretty long duration, though, for visibility, which is nice.
I've seen so much because my uncle was always into NASA, and my grandma, like, they always followed like the space stuff, so I just naturally got into it. I even would get, oh man, this will date me, I used to get the they had these things and you order them off TV and you get them every month, and it was like a notebook with like a 3-ring binder, and this particular, I got the space one and the air flight one, and they would send me every month. I would get these. It was like little inserts for it. It was so cheap. I can't believe I would do that as a subscription now that the internet exists. But before it was prevalent, you'd get these leaflets and you put them in, and I loved looking through the universe one. That was just fascinating, man.
Yeah, I had that animal one. It was zoo something. I can't remember what it was, but it was always, there was a different animal every month.
And you would put it in your little leaflet?
Yep.
I still have the space one somewhere. It's packed away somewhere.
Good stuff. But it's always interesting seeing those kind of short-sighted arguments that don't really make a lot of sense when you actually take the time to extrapolate them.
Yeah, no, you got it.
The small world most people live in.
We got to figure out what's going on out there as well as here. I think we have enough people to get on everything.
And that's the point, right?
It's like farming,
we've spent the last 1,000 years innovating agriculture to get it from like 90% of the population down to 0.5% of the population. Now this guy just rides John Deere around and freaking a quarter of the country's got wheat. That's what's up. That's does the work of 100 people in half the time.
And even like to the space flight thing, that's going to take hydroponic indoor growing research.
Yeah,
dude, those aero gardens, I want to get into growing some tomatoes in like however many weeks it takes.
Yep.
I've been looking into those too.
Year round, nonetheless, because you can do it in a hoop house.
Yeah, that's the amazing part.
Yep.
And that's I see why you see the absurdity, man. And then there's somebody like, no, you must toil all day for food. You can't just stick it in the corner and eat it, man. That makes a lot more sense. All right, let me see. I wanna ask. Hold on, a fun one. My Patronus is a Rancor. What's yours?
A Rancor?
Oh, the Rancor, like from Star Wars, that big thing in Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah. I come out swanging. You can mix universes. It's okay.
This is infinite. I mean,
infinite Patronus possibilities.
okay, so there's a fantasy character I have, like in my own personal writings.
Hey, Eddie, there you go. Open, there you go.
He's a druid that can shapeshift through natural forms. And
that's a good one.
His two main forms are like a mobile tree and a bear. And he has this more like ultimate form, which is like a bear, and instead of fur, it's like bark. And he still has like
hardened fur.
He still has like trunk legs, so it's like, it's the strength of a bear and the density of a tree kind of thing.
I actually love that.
And then beyond that, he has like a super astral form, which is like the cloak of a 1,000 arms, essentially. So it's just like a floating head with a cape, but instead of it being a cape, it's like 1,000 arms.
That's awesome.
And they can just like stretch and manipulate and do whatever. So somewhere between tree bear and cloak of 1,000 arms, somewhere.
There we
go.
That was a way better answer than I ever expected. He had his own character from his own writing, and it was good.
But yeah, I really kind of have that affinity towards nature, though. Like, as fun as it is to speculate, sci-fi and fantasy and all these other things, nature's had a billion-year start on the game. They're gonna outdo you every time. They're gonna outdo you every time.
Nothing like sitting on a beach. And there's particular beaches you can find with no hotels on them. There's nothing like it, man. I mean, the mountains are good. Forests are pretty good. River streams are pretty good. I've seen all these things, but man, just you on a chair, some alcoholic or non-alcoholic drinks, just sitting there watching it. That makes me realize how small I am when I'm at the beach.
Yes.
And if I get on the beach at night and there's not too much light on it, then you got this ocean right out in front of you going out into infinity, and then you have the sky right above you going out into infinity. That's the reason why we need to figure out space flight and stuff. Come on.
Yep.
You're absolutely right about that. We're gonna have to go somewhere eventually. When you look at how big it is, and you if you pay attention to astrology, read about all these planets that are like, oh, this used to probably look like Earth. Doesn't anymore. It's a really bad situation there now. Like,
even
you don't
Venus,
want this.
Very briefly, Venus was Earth-like. Very briefly.
Yeah, there you go. And that's just like a ball of gas now, right?
It's carbon dioxide and acid rain is all it is.
Woo,
now.
Let's go party over there. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't know we were gonna get into things like this. I want to come
welcome
back
to the show,
season
CCB.
This is fun.
Everyone has that eureka moment on this show. I'm glad yours happened early.
That's good.
All right. We're about 5-10 minutes away from official midstream mix-up time.
Has it been an hour? See,
again, welcome to the show, man. But so we could sneak one or two more in, or we can go straight into.
I got a couple of pure softballs.
Sneak them in. Sneak them in.
Easy.
Look at this prepared man.
On the tablet and written down.
It looks so official. It looks like you're like
so
downloading it from a space satellite. You're like, hold on, the information's coming in now.
Yeah, I gotta get a new one of these. This one's kind of slow, but it's gonna work until Black Friday sales hit. Favorite Mario game?
Favorite Mario game? Ooh, Lost Levels.
What? See,
Lost Levels.
You are that. You're the person who loves
64 is perfect, but I think it's a bias because I'm better
at
the
one we didn't get. I can understand liking it.
I'm better at Lost Levels than I am at 64. So I'll concede 64 is the perfect Mario game, but I'm better at the Lost Levels. That's my favorite. 64, so I enjoy Lost Levels more.
I had the 64 in the PlayStation, in the Game Boy Pocket Color Advance. It was all right there, man. It was before I was a teenager. It was pretty much all through my childhood. I had some kind of video games. The first thing I played games on was an Acer piece of crap, and it had the Acer experience. I'm gonna try and answer this real quick so we can go into the mid thing. Somebody may have had this computer. There's a piece of crap from Walmart. My other friend actually had the same thing, and it had the Acer experience, and in there was Descent. And I remember playing Descent as a really young kid for quite a long time.
That was the dungeon crawler, right?
Yeah, and dude, it was a spaceship dungeon crawler. It was a sci-fi dungeon crawler. If it was a dungeon crawler though, because you would start at the beginning of the level and you'd have to work your way through to the end, picking up a key card here or there, and it had 0G. So for a kid, I don't know, I think I probably beat a few levels or whatever, but I was just flooding up and around on it. And then my cousin let me play Mario. Those were some of my earliest game memories. But that's the reason I think Mario 64 is perfect, is because it hit like right at 11, 12.
Yeah.
Right in there, man. So
because it was
another bias.
It was so advanced at the time, right? So like anyone in that generation,
and even on that controller,
it
played real nice.
Yeah. So
I did it 1 p.m.
Nailed it. Technically on my clock I still have 14 seconds left, but if we keep talking about how much time's left, we'll actually wind up right at the dot of 1 hour.
There's probably like 10 seconds left at this point.
Not even. Now we're down to like 5 seconds. So
oh man, that
ladies and gentlemen, we did it. It's time for the midstream mix up. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Okay, so we were talking about mountains and forests and beaches and all that stuff. And I spent 4 years in the mountains. And I gotta say, the weather's nicer, the people are nicer, and it's good. But there's just no ocean.
Yep.
And anyone who doesn't know what CCB and I are hinting at, you need to watch the movie The Legend of 1900. It's an Italian film in English featuring Tim Roth and the guy from Constantine that was the minister.
Message me that.
But
when you get a chance.
And the idea of the Legend of 1900 is he was like an orphan child left on a cruise ship. So he had no legal status, and he just stowed away on the boat for his whole life. And he never left the boat. And he meets an Italian immigrant. And he tells him about the voice of the ocean. And it's like this, it's the turning point of the movie, right? And just watch the movie. Just watch. I'm not gonna say anymore. Just watch.
I feel that, man, because I gotta be by water.
Watch the movie. Watch it. It's a great movie.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
It's a little corny. It is like an Italian small budget film, but
I took a film history class.
Still good.
I've watched a lot of MST.
Mm-hmm. But that being said, we are both East Coast people. And one thing we East Coast people know, hurricanes. I mean, sure, you got your West Coast monsoons, typhoons, occasional hurricane, storm, El Nino, La Nina, whatever. Get out of here. You've never seen a Gulf hurricane just destroy everything. So I figured
really
we could both,
bad for the Bahamas last year.
We could both share our hurricane stories that we don't mind sharing. I'll go first because I have a quick one. That'll kind of set the tone. Bertha, Hurricane Bertha. That was a no hit. That was one of those right up the coast guys. Oh, the best hurricanes are the ones that just right up the coast.
Sheer on by.
What was great about Bertha, it was close enough to New Jersey to affect the tides, but not close enough to actually cause rain or wind. So for a good week, our normal 3 to 5 foot surf became a 10 to 12 foot surf without the bad weather. And it got to the point where like the New Jersey Coast Guard was issuing like no boogie boards because it's a death sentence trying to boogie board a 10-foot wave. It was surfing and body surfing only, right? And I'm a body surfer, so it was the best body surfing I've ever. I got barrel rolled twice.
Body surfing's incredible, dude.
And
it's one of my favorite things. I
took a good skid on the bottom of the ocean with one pretty rough wave, and you'd spend like
you are the board.
You'd spend half an hour out there, and you're just exhausted. Like you need to know your limit and get back on.
Mine
land.
Would be quick nowadays
because if you're panting, you need to realize that if something happened, you would not have the energy or breath to get out of it.
Yeah.
So,
because I enjoyed boogie boarding, but I did get into body boarding, body surfing. I guess body surfing is the proper, because if you hold your breath right
Yep.
and you angle your body just right, you will just go right along with
You
that
bottom
wave.
out.
It's
I
crazy.
can bottom out to the surf where you go all the way till the wave
All the way in.
stops on the
See,
sand.
I was decent at it. I could ride it, curling, but I couldn't ride it all the way. That's impressive. Do you use a wetsuit
Nope.
or no? You
Plain
just
old
do
trunks.
it, right?
Just
Yeah,
trunks.
you don't really need to. That's impressive, man.
I do it naked, but there's certain dangers of doing that.
Your story.
you are face
yeah.
down when you body surf, so you don't. There's certain things you don't need.
Bro,
in the
I
bottom
could.
of the ocean.
Oof, if you don't want to take that one all the way into the shore.
Nope.
Oh boy.
Sure don't. Especially
I
if there's
didn't
one of
think
those
about that.
clamshells sticking out.
Oh no, man, and they do sometimes. Well, your hurricane story was awesome.
That's just a toe wetter, right? That's just dipping
That's a
into
good
the water
one.
a little bit. Get us.
Well,
going there.
we had Charlie here, long time. What 2004? I think was
That's
Hurricane Charlie.
after Andrew. Andrew was 98.
Yeah,
96.
and Andrew was bad too. Now, I don't remember Andrew, and I don't think it hit where I was all that much, but Charlie came right over where we were. And I remember being on the porch. I think I told you, I'll just tell it. It's so many years later,
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter. My mom picked me up Smirnoffs because I begged her to. I wouldn't shut up.
How old
dude.
were you at this
And
time?
like 17. It was right on the cusp of 18. My mom's a bit of a free spirit hippie.
Hey,
type of
it's
person.
Florida. That's the least of your problems
Yeah, man.
down there.
I mean, and she only got me 6, and they weren't nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But I liked going out in the rain. So of course, after a few Smirnoffs, I was going out in the rain, and this was all fine and good, except I could see in the distance, not only in the distance across streets, or like there was a down way, and you could see a bunch of trees in the tree line. They were toppling. They were going down.
Mhm.
And then I'm walking back
Just like
into
this
our
wall
porch,
of destruction working its way towards you.
it was just the winds, I guess.
Yeah.
And to a human, you standing out there, and I was pretty stocky then too, so I was actually going into the high school gym at that time, so I was
Bulky.
beefed down by muscle,
Bulky.
man. And I'm walking back, and this huge tree by our driveway falls in such a way that if I would have been there 5 seconds later, it would have hit me. As we discussed before, 2 trees seemingly fall
Silently.
until their branches are hitting concrete or something else. You don't hear that thing going. And I'm turning around, it's toppling. It doesn't hit the SUV. Somehow misses the SUV, as big as it was, because it went clear across our driveway, and just scared the ever-living crap out of me. I went on that porch. I did not leave that house until the winds and rain and everything died down.
A healthy respect instilled at an early age of the powers of the
Oh
hurricane.
yeah, don't be outside with trees, because the spooky thing again was how little you heard
Yep.
till it's hitting.
Yep.
Till things are crunching and branches are breaking. Like,
Yep.
almost heard nothing.
And you don't hear
And my
that till
mom
it's
was-
crunching
My
on your
mom
head.
just was. She's so funny, dude. This is the type of lady she was. She's like, well, I bet you won't go out in the hurricane again now, will you?
She probably knew exactly what was going to happen. She probably pushed the tree.
Oh,
It probably was
man.
behind the tree waiting for you to walk way back and just
She's
gave
so
it a little
funny,
push.
but yeah. I don't go out in hurricanes anymore. What I did do the last one we had here, when I was posting some stuff to Twitter when we were like losing power and stuff, Dorian was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was
honestly, where I was
a
at.
good situation for you.
But I won't go out in it anymore because of that. Because the tree didn't make any noise, man.
Well, that's the Ron White joke, right? He was talking
What
about
happened?
the 70-year-old man who thought he was fit enough to withstand the winds of a hurricane, and he was like, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is
Yeah,
blowing. If you get
true.
hit by a Volvo, it doesn't really matter how many push-ups you did that morning.
Exactly. Does it? You can stand out in it. I mean, reporters do it, but then a car comes by.
Yeah.
Then a branch flies by.
then
a
a
mailbox
blade
hits
of
you in the
grass
head.
gets impaled into a tree, and they're like, oh,
Yeah,
well, that doesn't seem
it's-
safe.
Pretty serious. And that's what always scares me, if these things. And one did. I remember, what was it? Last point on hurricanes. Was it Francis or something? I don't know. It went into a populated area, pretty powerful.
Mhm.
I think it was Florence. I
Florence
get
sounds
all the
familiar.
names.
Yeah, Hurricane
confused.
Florence.
But yeah, that's what scares me, man. Because these places they're not really prepared, like a Floridian or anything. I don't know. I always feel bad when they go places they don't usually. I'm not like, oh, now you get a taste of what it's like. It's like, nah, man, but they don't know what it's like, and
Right.
they're
They don't
not
have an
gonna handle
infrastructure
it
in
as well.
place for evacuation or recovery or anything like
Because
that.
there's always a little bit right when it starts, even when it's like this Hurricane 1 coming. Like, I'm really not worried, but there's going to be a point in it where it's if we get hit by the winds they're saying, there's going to be a couple hours where it's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets, power goes out. You got your batteries, you got your radio. We got the NOAA radio, actually donated by a viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Michelangelo. That was last year when we were about to get hit by Dorian. Money was a little bit tight, so we still have that radio ready to go. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, be prepared. Anybody who's in a place where hurricanes are going to happen, just kind of, like I said, we're stocked, we're ready. We don't have to leave, and we're good to go.
Yep. And last story for hurricanes that I have, Irene hit New Jersey about 9 years ago.
See, that's another thing. Like New Jersey, I would not. That's
right. And so
sucks,
that's the thing,
man.
is usually because of the way like North Carolina and Virginia are structured, the hurricane's going to follow the coast and then it gets deflected out into the ocean again. So usually you just catch the outer bands. You don't catch an actual hurricane. But Irene just did one of those loop things and just smacked right into it. So normally it's just the coastal cities that get hit by hurricane, but Irene hit mainland cities. And especially in central Jersey. So North Jersey is a lot of mountains, kind of like Pennsylvania. South Jersey is a lot of flatland, so it's like farmland, so it's not that big. But central Jersey is kind of like this foothills of Appalachian, so there's a lot of rain, a lot of rivers, a lot of like...
It has all these features.
Yeah. And
the
issue with the mainland getting hit by a hurricane in New Jersey is the way it's structured, because it is in the foothills of the Appalachians. So all these rivers and tributaries pass through everything. So what you normally see when you drive through central Jersey is you're on a road, and then there's like a big hill to your left. And then to the right, there's like a 10-foot drop. And then it's just grass with a couple trees, and then a line of trees. Behind that line of trees is the actual river. And that whole like 300-yard stretch of grass between the road and the river is the floodplain. And when the river floods, it floods the entire plain. So it goes up 10 feet right up to the road.
That's so sketchy.
And it's like 600 yards wide. Like, it's enormous, because not just all the rain in the area is coming down. Any rain on the east side of the mountains comes through there, because that's where all the rivers are coming from. Right?
That's terrifying, man.
So the biggest area that got hit was Somerville. And the problem with Somerville is it's high elevation, but it has points below watershed. So like water level is like 800 feet there, where the rivers are. But you have sections of towns and cities that are like 500 feet below.
And all that water is just gonna...
And so I'll never forget, I was able to drive around a little bit not too long after the storm passed through. And you're going through these suburbs that are up high on the hill, and then you get to one of these points where you're on the hill, and then it slopes down to the road, and then it slopes down to the floodplain. So I'm up on the road, and the water is up to where I am on the hill. So the road's down here somewhere, and the water is up to the hill. And I look across the water, and right above the water is a traffic light. So like the water the water went from below ground to traffic light height for the whole town. I'm not talking like a narrow canyon in the mountains. I'm talking an entire town, miles wide. We're at traffic light height of water.
I don't know what I would do, man.
Like,
I'm thankfully not in a flood zone.
You can't wrap your head around that amount of water.
No, like,
right?
It's gone.
And, driving through months after, like, there's roads that have to, like, bridge over the rivers, so you kind of drive over the floodplain.
Right.
And one of the floodplains, it's literally 2 miles. So you get off the road to bridge the river, and you have to drive over the 2-mile wide floodplain, then the little river that's only like 100 feet, and then another mile or so across. So I'm going across this 2-mile wide floodplain, and there's a mud line that goes about 10 feet up on the trees. So you have like the trees that are green, and then there's just
That's
brown.
how high it was.
There's this 10-foot brown line across all the trees and foliage from where the water was. And just seeing that, like, you're driving 2 miles down a road, and it's just this 10-foot line of mud, and you have to, like, remember, like, that was all water.
That was all water.
That was all
wow.
10 feet deep, 3 miles wide. For like a week.
It reminds me of my grandma telling me stories from way back in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, I believe she kept saying. I believe it's near Scranton as well, where the office takes place. But she talked of stuff like that, man. Right. Like they were up in their
and
attic.
It just happens because your rain's building up, but you don't realize that the rain's building up on the mountain slope. So all of that's collecting in. Yeah. And then you just have this like giant tide of very rapidly rising water levels.
She talked of 2 floods. She talked about that a lot, man, and how it affects people, man. This is why I was saying I hate it. I hate it. That's why I hate it when they go to a place that, you know, you had your floodplain there and you had your precautions, but mud line 20 feet up on a tree. That's terrifying across any area with any type of residential people. Mike, I hope there wasn't too much loss of life.
It was more damage to business than life. Thankfully,
that's good. Because in that case, you got to go, man. I would leave.
And that's the thing is like, where do you go? You have to drive like 100 miles north into the mountains because that's what it's like in the entire region. So it's crazy.
That sucked, man. That stinks.
Yeah. So.
Well, those were some good hurricane stories, I say.
Good stuff. Midstream mix-up success. We did it. I did have a question. What is your hurricane procedure? But I think you already answered that with your supplies and all that stuff.
Now it gets crazier. If we gotta go, we got each cat's got I think we got to stuff 2 cats in one. They're just gonna have to fucking get along. The cats got their carrying things. The snakes, we have a bunch of snakes. If you didn't know, we have a bunch of ball pythons. They all go into bags and go into large, what could be equivalated storage containers. They have holes so they can breathe, but they put them in a bag. Hopefully they're not biting each other. That's something they're going to have to sort out. Or eating each other,
one of the two.
Yeah, they all got bags, and they're all in their bags, and hopefully that's enough, and they can just be uncomfortable for a little while. It's not the best thing, but that's how you move them quick. So they're all in a bag, in a thing that gets stuffed into the trunk long ways. I don't even think we can have the back seat up, and then the cats are in there too. And then,
although to be fair, in a worst case situation, pythons can swim, so you could just let them loose if you had to.
True. But we hopefully would have time to get to somewhere. I don't know where we'd go. We'd go somewhere, and that's cats, lizards. The geckos got to go in. They have 2 travel terrariums we got for the geckos, and then we had a little tiny fish bowl that we'd use for the beta, but unfortunately, Riker number 2 has passed on recently, and we got to get a Riker number 3.
Gotcha.
All our beta fishes are just Riker and the number that we're on.
Right.
And
it's a good way to go.
That guy lived like 2 years, man. That was one of the longest living more adult beta fish that we've had. And the
because you don't know how old they are when you buy them.
You have no clue. And the reason we do the beta fish, though, is just to save one because at a time, because they are one of the most shat upon species ever, man. They use them at weddings. In bowls, and then they just throw the fish away. What do you think happens to the fish? They get thrown away, and they get shipped in these little 1.5 ounce water package. It's treated horribly. So, at any one time, we keep 1 beta fish that's not treated this way. They have a giant tank. Usually, we got snails in there with them, ghost shrimp, all types of stuff. Try to make it like a beta paradise. So. We're very into animals. Now adding chicken. I don't know what we do. I guess chickens. I'll toss them in the car too, man.
There you
Just
go.
Everybody go.
One chicken in each lap.
Everybody, we gotta go.
Everyone grab
we
a
gotta
chicken.
go. We gotta go. Everybody's coming.
So, yeah. All right. Well, the second half yours, sir. You're in charge. Take it away. I got some questions left over, but I'll only throw them in as they're relevant.
Hey, no, that's cool. Let's see. Let me get my. Let me pour them in from the Musk pad here. The Elon space age technology. You know, and this type of stuff that gets us to space. The innovations like this, man. All right.
The little Star Trek. What are they called?
Oh, dude, yeah, they had them, right? They
They
had them.
had smartphones.
Yep.
They predicted it.
They predicted so much. I love Star Trek. Well, didn't I have a Star Trek question? Maybe I didn't have a Star Trek question. What's your favorite? We'll just ask that real quick, just right off. What's your favorite one?
I like Star Trek better than Star Wars, and
Oh,
that's
I've never
a
argued.
sci-fi versus fantasy. Here's the thing: I appreciate fantasy more than sci-fi, but so many fantasies refuse to maintain logic,
Yeah,
which
they
makes the suspension of disbelief almost impossible for me.
Star Wars, that last
Like,
trilogy. I don't know what's happening.
everyone's power levels are always arbitrary to the plot, and it's just like, okay, none of this means anything. Like if there was actually a consistent logic through it all, I could get on board.
Not
Like
to
even
get
with
off
like
base, but
even
how
with
the hell
like
did
Harry
Rey know
Potter,
all the
right?
lightsaber stuff?
Like Harry Potter, like what can a wizard can and can't do? Because if there's certain things a wizard can do, none of these problems would have happened in the first place. You could just magic it away,
It would be done, yeah.
right? So it doesn't make. There's a lot of things that don't make sense in those kind of fantasies. So if fantasy is done logically, I really appreciate it. Like Dark Crystal, right? The
That's a good
original
one.
and the relaunch TV series.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it worth it?
So good, so good.
Okay.
Here's what
All
you
right.
need to watch: the original first.
Do the
To remind
movie
yourself
first
of all
again.
the little things, and each little thing that it's only on the screen for like 5 seconds in the original movie is like has its own episode. Like it's so well done.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really well done. So just really pay attention to all the details and all the puppetry and like world creation that goes on in the original, and then you'll appreciate everything they did with the new one. But that's
Excellent.
that's one where basic physical rules apply. Yes, there's flight. It's a little wonky, but flying as a mechanic makes sense. And
I
whenever
don't
they
even
can fly,
remember
they
them
fly.
flying. I do have to
Right.
watch the movie again.
So there's things that make sense and there's things that don't make sense. And when it makes sense, I like it as fantasy, but most of the time fantasy doesn't do that. So by default then, sci-fi becomes something I appreciate more just because it's done properly more regularly.
Now, of the Star Treks,
Yes.
which Star Trek's your favorite?
Um it's I definitely don't like Kirk. I don't like Kirk.
I like the
Picard.
original, but it's not my favorite.
I like Picard. Picard's the way to go.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I really like the one. I can't remember which one it is, but the anomaly that's traveling through space and then they go into like Fantasyland.
right.
I forget which one that is. That's my favorite one.
It's the and they got the they go on the holodeck, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a few episodes. So Next Generation. That's a fantastic answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a fantastic answer. Okay. Do you miss Unreal Tournament as much as me?
Oh my God, Unreal Tournament 3. Oh, why you
Oh,
gotta
there we go.
why you
He
gotta bring
does.
that back? Oh my
He
God, the
does.
little three-legged eyeball guy. Oh my God,
Man,
that's my
they
favorite.
are
That's my
working on it
go-to.
at all.
Three-legged eyeball guy every day, all day, every day.
I wish they would release the assets because they
Unreal
did it with
Tournament 3.
Paragon.
It was the first like online multiplayer game,
I know. It
like
was so
in a
good.
true form. My favorite was
You had to
doing
think
the
quick.
my favorite was doing the sieges where like those maps were so well defined. Like you see some capture the flag stuff now and you're like, "Oh my God, this is terrible."
Not
right?
that great.
And Battlefield 4 kind of did good when they had like the point systems. It was like there was A, B, C, D, and E, and you had to defend each one and accumulate points over time.
It was decent, yeah.
But the siege levels from Unreal Tournament, where you have a defending team and an attacking team, and the way the map is built, it's built for the mode, right? It's
Yeah.
not like a natural environment that they just arbitrarily throw points in. It's like there's a fortress, and the
Yep.
only way to get in is you have to open the door. So everyone's defending the switch to the door. And then the door's open, so now there's a different path that the offenders are taking. So the defenders have to reroute their strategy to defend the next point. And then that gets breached and they have to defend the next
So
point.
good.
And there's these multi-layer strategies where you could stay at the gate and you could like snipe the attackers.
Right.
But if they killed you, then you were out of position and then they had to push back into the
Yep.
second and third points. So like the maps were so well designed.
And you had to do all this at like the speed of light. It felt like with the way you could shoot, man.
I think the games were fast back then. They were
and
fast.
now it's all slow. At least I'm not the.
It's
the
realistic,
only
and
person to
I'm
notice
fine with that because I kind of don't like the faster a game is, the bigger the gap of skill disparity is.
True.
So someone who's really good at a fast game, you can't even practice, right? You're just like 4 frames in and you're dead. You're like, well, I don't even know what happens, so how can I get better, right? So I appreciate flattening the skill curve a little bit, but there was a certain just excitement and fast-paced and that one I can't remember. It was capture the flag. It was like low gravity, so everyone could jump really high. So there were like all these next level strategies where like you just try to like wall just hop your way into the back door and sneak in. Oh my god, so good. So
all right, so you do miss it.
Unreal Tournament 3, man, and Unreal 2, like the actual game Unreal 2.
Good, yeah.
That was the first game that scared me. Because you have the first level, you're going in, and then to transition to the second level, you go into an elevator. And up until then, every game, the elevator was just like the loading screen, right? It was just like go in the elevator so the game can load, and then the doors open and you're in the next level. So you're in the elevator, like, all right, loading screen coming up. All of a sudden, something shakes. You're like, what? And then the lights go out. You're like, what? And then the elevator stops. You're like, okay, this is bad. And then you start hearing something coming at you, and you're like, oh my fucking god. And then it breaks the door open, and you're like, ah! It's like, it was the first time I was ever actually genuinely scared.
They need to get better
by
at that.
A video game.
They need to get better at that in multiplayer games nowadays.
Yeah.
There's not too much like right now, I feel like there's a disparity in multiplayer where it's like you have all the royales competing with each other.
Yeah.
You got Overwatch over here, which I still play.
Yeah, but now Valorant's getting in on that, right?
But it's round based, right? Valorant?
Yeah.
I can't, dude. I need to respawn. And I think that's what my problem is the respawn is leaving gaming.
Yeah.
Like as a whole in multiplayer, it's like it's all big chips or nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man.
Well, I think they just need to play around it more. Like so much has evolved in King of the Hill because King of the Hill really started back in like H1Z1. Honestly,
yes,
that was like the first one to do it because they were trying to emulate Rust and with like a zombie twist, and then they came up with a King of the Hill system. And they were like in that weird thing where like they were trying to copy one game and they created a new game type and they couldn't do anything with it because they didn't have an identity. They were just like half of this and half of that. And then try to remember what the first one after that was.
I believe it was PUBG.
Yeah, PUBG was there. And there was another survival game, DayZ. DayZ played into it. DayZ was like, okay, H1Z1, good try. We're gonna do it right. Yep. And they actually built the game around it. So
poor H1Z1's still trying, man. They're on consoles.
Rust is still trying too. Although there's that new one, 7 Days to Die or whatever. That I really want to get into that.
Everybody play. All my friends have 7 Days to Die. I never play. I
want to get into that for sure. But so much has evolved in that King of the Hill strategy, and that whereas the Respawn, Battlefield, that's like it. Battlefield and Call of Duty. Those are the only two. And they're not interested in innovating. They just want to push out a game every year.
They just want to push it out. I'm hoping Halo does something because supposedly that's free to play, the multiplayer.
Yeah. I think a good Siege game would be great. If they could bring back a Siege game, even if they made it like medieval first-person shooter.
Oh, dude, have you tried Mordhau?
Mordhau? No.
Mordhau? There's a game called Dude, you would you need to let me see. It's Mordau, something like that. It looks like Mordhau. Yeah, you need to check that out on Steam, man. It's FPS axes and kind of like that. I don't know if they have really complex siege modes yet. They're probably working on it, but I know that they have.
I see screenshots of catapults and climbing walls.
Yeah, man.
So that looks. Yeah, we need more of that. We need more of that.
pretty realistic. That you should check that out, man.
There you go.
Can't believe you haven't heard of it. I actually own that because it was.
I've not been really on the new game scene.
Well, see,
I'm a little preoccupied.
There's some really cool new stuff coming. Like that game.
I do regret it a little bit.
That game well, don't worry, it'll be on sale, and there's still people playing it. There's always people playing, and then there's the Humankind. My wife has been playing the crap out of this game in the living room, where you start as a baby monkey, and then you have to survive, and evolve your traits evolve,
kind of like first person Spore.
Yeah. Way better though. Way more interesting to look over and watch.
a bit more directional.
Yeah, it's really cool to sit there watching her play it and then get a new skill. Like you got a stick now. Now you get a stick. Now you're more formidable. Now you can do some damage. Like the one player games in gaming are doing a really good job in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's just this. Again, I hope Halo does something. I hope it for respawn based shooters. Because I feel like they're dead. They're just about dead.
They need more innovation, that's for sure.
Somebody's got to do something. And from the Halo trailer, unfortunately, people really latched onto that enemy's face. And I don't know if you heard about this, but they presented it at the Xbox thing, and this enemy comes romping up to you, and you're right face to face with them, and it looked like shit, dude. So and everybody you can find those memes so easily right now. And I really hope they're doing something.
Well, if it was just test footage, it probably isn't optimized yet, and they probably haven't gotten the HD skins involved.
God, I hope so, because they latched onto that face hard. That'll be. Make sure when you're doing your renders that are going to be shown to however many people are watching that expo. I was watching later footage of it, but. I watched somebody. It was right after they did it. The Xbox presentation. This guy's a big Xbox fan. I mainly watch him for retro information. I've been watching him for the Intellivision Amico. It's a whole nother thing. Check that out in October. And he hated it. And we're talking like a day one Xbox, had every Xbox and every game. He's sitting there telling me on YouTube, I see no reason to buy that new console. And that's bad.
Yeah.
Because this is, it's kind of like a Nintendo fan with me. You release an N64 Mini, I'll have like two on reserve. One to look at and one to play with. Like I got the NES Mini, I got the SNES Mini. That's like me, I can't even find a comparison because I don't really play Xbox anymore. But
yeah.
That guy was all about it, and I think they're in trouble, man. I think PS5 is going to dominate. I think the Amico I'm going to buy is going to have a nice little 3-month run, and then it'll be a relic. I don't think that thing's going anywhere. Have you heard of this?
The Relic?
No, there's an Intellivision. They're going to release a modern console in October with no DLC, with games ranging from $3 to $8. And the console itself is going to be no more than $200. And the main reason I'm going to get it is I'm pretty sure it's going to fail. And I like owning failure tech. There's something about it. Like I wish I had that stupid red light game that you put in your face that Nintendo, Virtual Boy. I had that piece of crap. I don't know what happened to it. I wish I had it, because just to put it on display, like that thing's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. It's in mint condition. Like, so I'm gonna pick one up, but I have a feeling Intellivision Amico is just gonna flop. I'll have like 5 games on it and be able to show people it eventually. Like, look at that's why I like owning stuff like that, because you show it to somebody, you're like, what is that?
It's like this was a multi-million-dollar project from a giant AAA company.
So many people worked on this and dedicated their lives. I hope it does well, but I have a feeling it's not. But this brings me to number 7.
Oh, dang.
I have it here. I'm not asking these in any particular order. What's your favorite game console before 1990?
Computer.
There you go. Which one, though?
I can't even remember what it was called.
Because there was like Commodore. There was a
was-
number of them that
It wasn't a
had.
Commodore.
Was it Commodore?
It was not a Commodore.
Not a Commodore, but there was a number of PC.
It was an
home
IBM. It was an IBM.
systems. IBM. Okay, all right, and that's a valid answer because a lot of gaming's roots, video gaming's roots, are in those early computers
Mhm.
and people that were writing D&D, basically text adventures.
Yep, that's,
And that's
what it was. That's
really
it was.
what like booted video games
Yep.
into popularity was D&D.
Yeah, so
So-
there was Visual Basic, which had like the guerrilla game. So anyone who's played like Scorched Earth or Battle Tanks or anything where
I
you're
don't
doing
think-
the trajectory. There's
I've
two
played
tanks on
Battle
a
Tanks.
2D thing, and you're shooting projectiles at each other.
Right.
So the original one of that was two gorillas on a randomly generated skyscraper scene. So it was like there were like 12 buildings. Each building was a different height, and the two gorillas spawned on either side. And you plugged in a velocity, you plugged in an angle, and it just launched a banana that exploded. And the objective was to hit the other gorilla first.
It had an exploding animation.
Yeah, and it
Actually
was really
kind of
cool
advanced.
because you could go for the trajectories, or you could manipulate the game because there was a frame rate to the game. Like there wasn't like a physics engine. There wasn't a
Right.
video card. It was all done on the processor.
Somebody
So-
remembered it.
If you did 90 degrees at max speed, you would clip through the buildings about half a building way through. So you could either try to guess the right angle and power over like 10 or 20 guesses, or you could just brute force your way through it. It was always like
Right
this.
through
It was
it.
like this meta game. It was like, okay, is it
Huh.
better to brute force this straight through the skyscrapers in the way and just beeline shot because what would happen is you would clip through the building and then there'd be an explosion, a little circle where there's no more
I'm
building.
amazed there was an
right?
explosion.
And then you could do it again, so it would clip through into the explosion, and then it would clip through again and make a new explosion. So you just had like this tunnel of holes, and you could just beeline straight shot to the other player.
That kind of sounds like Worms.
And then you had to be careful too, because if you were at the right distance apart, the person could shoot back in the other direction
Back
and
through it.
utilize
That's
your
what I
holes
was
that you
just about
clipped.
I was just about
So
to say that.
it was always this weird like meta. So it had a great meta game to it, as simple as it was.
Did you ever play Degen?
No, I did not.
That's a DOS game. See, that's one of the earliest. After I played Descent and showed interest, my stepfather at the time was like, "All right, check this out," and he loads in a floppy disk, and it was just
Yeah.
packed with DOS. And God, those games, they were so rudimentary, but at
Mhm.
my age and not having a Game Boy yet, N64 hasn't hit the scene yet. That's what you got. You got this crappy Acer, and this old dude just popped in a floppy, and we're gonna check out these games.
Yeah.
Those were some of the earliest. Another set of early gaming memories was exploring a DOS disk, and I'd always have to ask
Yeah.
him to. All he was typing was like /run,
Yeah, well,
but I always had to ask him to do it for me.
because there was no operating system back then.
Yeah, it was
So
all very rudimentary. but I
Where
remember
here you can
Degen.
like click a folder on your desktop and then go to folders beyond that. You had to type in a command to list all of the folders on your desktop, quote unquote, and then you had to type in a command to open one of those folders. Then you had to type in a command again to look at the folders in that folder, and then type in another command to open that folder. So if your game was like 6 folders deep into your quote unquote operating system, you had to
Right.
run 12 commands just to get to the game. And then you would do run, and then you had to have the entire list of the directory, all the subfolders, and then the actual name of the game .exe.
And he was into computers.
Right.
So to me at 7, all I'm seeing is
Right.
just the typing, and then boop, Degen's on. And
Yeah.
I'm playing whatever game it is. Yeah, I never should have probably paid more attention, but I never got into coding.
Yeah, so the first DOS games I played was Trial by Fire and Hero's Quest.
Nice.
So Hero's
Nice.
Quest was like you're like a thief rogue in like a medieval town, and you have to do all these like miniature quests like kill a witch and all this other stuff. And then Trial by Fire was like an Arabian fantasy. So you have
Prince
to
of Persia, maybe ish.
kind of like Prince of Persia. What I loved, so both of these games were the same style, where you get these. it's built as a map, like a gridded map, and each map is just a screen that they show you. So if you can go up, down, left, and right. And so, like in Trial by Fire, there was a desert area. So you would go into the desert area, and it would have, picture of desert, and it loads your character, and you can move around on that screen. And there might be an enemy, like a scorpion, that would move around on that screen. And then you would, if you interacted with each other, then it would load up like a fight screen, and you had to do the fight. And there are all these other things like tightrope walking and potion making and all these other things. So
that sounds extremely complex for a DOS
right.
game.
And it was a really cool interaction because you had the map of the game, you had the screen of each map's quadrant, you had your character moving on the quadrant, and you also had to type in text commands. So you could move around, but then if you wanted to like go to the bartender, you'd have to move your character to the bartender, and then you'd have to type in like ask bartender drink, and then he would give you a drink. Or you would have to go to the door, and then you'd have to type in knock, right? So it was like a text-based adventure with a visual representation. And for the time, it was a fascinating
I
concept.
love old games and stories like that, because these are the things that got us to virtual reality Minecraft, and you know, it was just people coding and in the very beginning, loading the discs themselves, bagging them up, putting some little printout in them, and going down to a computer store that was going to let them put it on a wall for $10 or whatever a piece, and split the profits with them. These weren't companies or anything like that. So really, gaming in the beginning was for and by the people, and you had to have imagination. I mean, we're talking text on a computer. You got to be able to visualize a lot. So I've always been into retro gaming and retro stories, and
there's a new one out now that I think is it Smebity? I think Smebity was doing it.
Smebity.
It harkens back to that kind of text-based adventure thing, but it's procedurally generated by an AI.
Oh.
So it's just like an open world text adventure, and it will introduce characters, it'll introduce locations, but you can literally type any English language phrase into the action, and it has, so you type what you want, you type in your input, and then it generates your action as the game registers it, like its interpretation of what you said. And then there's a reaction from the environment, and then there's something you say, and if there's another person, there's what the person says in response. So you get 4 lines of text every time you input a new command. So it's like paragraphic text-based adventure, which is really cool. So
AI generated too.
Going back to that topic of like, there's all these new games coming out that I wish I had more time to get into.
I mean, there's always a chance to make time here and there, best you can. And I was gonna say right here, what are you excited for in the near future of gaming? This can be Marbles related. Let me statement on this. The moment Pixel is like second game beta, dude, I want to play. Whatever it is, I don't care. He talked about some chat element that I don't ever think fully came to fruition yet, but he talked about and hinted at release, and I think he's still working on it, is what I think.
Probably.
And even if it's just that, because he even said this idea is not a game, it's not pachinko. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But it's some chat element, some chat bot. He never really defined what it was. But even if it's just that, like another experience by Pixel, I'm all over it. Because I see everybody's here right now, right? But I see what he can see, man. Multiple games. You've got the Pixel by Pixels coins going across all of them. You got the marbles tournaments going. You have somebody from, I have no idea what he's making, but space fighters, anything, whatever it's going to be.
Right.
They want coins, so they're going to come over and play at the tournament because they want coins for game X. And you got, dude, I can see that, man. And it's time, and he's right, and that's all it's going to take. But I'm very excited for the future of Pixel. PS5's coming. Switch is still kicking butt, and that Intellivision Amico failure. I'm excited for that. That's what I'm excited for. What are you excited for?
What am I excited for gaming? I don't know about excited, but interested. Is the immersion gaming. So what they're working on for like full virtualizations, there's one company that's developing a glove. So it's full motion tracking, but it also has air bladders in it. And what the air bladders do is they generate pressure against your skin. So if you pick something up in the game, the air bladder
make you feel like you're picking it up,
expands and puts pressure on your hand, so it feels like there's something in your hand.
Now that is cool.
Yeah, it's so stuff like that I'm really interested in.
What on that, the walking tracks, like I think they've got like a ball one, and I think they've got a few different designs, a treadmill-ish circle thing.
Yeah.
But on that point, you get those gloves with the walking track, and just I would say I'm probably pretty excited for that too, because just thinking about the air bladders on your hand and picking up an apple or anything, I mean, that would just imagine feel. Yeah. Man, you got good answers.
The other thing, like
answers.
A lot of people always say, they haven't developed smell-o-vision yet. And I've always thought about like what an actual practical smell-o-vision would be. Because think about it, right? Like a TV screen. It's three basic colors that can create all the colors your eyes can see. And what about like printing paper, right? It's three colors, pigments that blend to form all the colors, right? And sound. The speaker vibrates at all frequencies to create the noise that you want to hear. So a smell-o-vision would need, like, instead of colors in a printer, it would be chemical compounds that can be aerosolized. And then the different combination of those smells would create, environmental smells. So you could have like a musky dungeon smell, you could have a beach smell, you could have a forest smell, you could have bad smells, good smells. And I
feel like vaping is halfway there.
Kind of.
You don't want to,
but
you don't want to inhale it.
You need that kind of replication, like a 3D printer of smell, essentially. Like, so 3D printers, you can have different polymers and build a multi-polymer three-dimensional object. So it'd be the same thing where you would need different chemical compounds that, when blended, can create a good variety of smells. And
have you been to Disney?
It might. Oh yeah, I know they'd have like, but those are like,
they're really into that.
They just have like a thing though, right? Like, so they just they create a smell. I'm talking more of that adaptable thing. Like maybe you have 10 base smells, and the way you combine them, different percentages, can create a wider variety.
Well, hell, I don't know how they're making their smells. You may be like talking backroom what happens, man. Maybe they are taking elements, and I mean, you're onto something here. I would
that's
be
thing. It's like, what,
very fascinated.
What would it actually
real world
be?
application?
Kind of the thing, yeah. And the danger is it'd fall kind of into that like 3D movie category where it's only really a novelty, like it never actually works out.
Takes off.
Right?
Yeah, it never really goes.
Because like I could very easily see a game where like the challenge is when you're trying to fight monsters, they have a bad smell, so you're like trying to overcome the bad smell while you're trying to play the game and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even think
so like
about
it would
that.
have there'd be like that novelty factor to it that would probably wear off really quickly.
Yeah.
But trying to find a way to make it happen, because if you look at games now, how many games have amazing environmental sounds, right? Like Escape from Tarkov.
Not COD.
Escape from Tarkov sounds like you're in the game. Like you can hear every breath, every footstep, every rustle, every sound another player makes, every environmental effect. You can hear everything. Rust is pretty similar too. It's a bit more, like cookie cutter. So like it's not specific sounds; it's just general sounds. But
so what you were saying though about the smells, what if we got all these virtual reality face masks, man? If there's an application to using enzymes or compounds and to create, as you said, to mix these 10 basic things together, and you can create different things. Bro, that's like probably $1 billion idea just sitting there waiting for
Right.
somebody to figure it out.
And like, so if people are willing to put that much effort into environmental sound, which most people don't pay attention to, and is just this subconscious immersion into the world, then I could very easily see smell doing the same kind of thing.
That
It's
would
just
be
a
so
passive
awesome,
enhancement
man.
to the experience. But maybe, if we're talking the headsets too, like maybe we can go completely cerebral. Like maybe they could just have like a thing that you put on your nose,
And that node just
and
kind of
it's
connects
yeah, it
to
just
everything.
shoots electrical signals to your nerves to make you think you're smelling things, right? Like that's another
As
possibility,
long as the
right?
signals aren't that powerful.
So
Wow,
just,
man. You gotta have me on this show again.
So
Give me like the crazy good answers too. I could probably come up with
hey,
questions
good questions.
forever.
It's all about the good questions.
This is a good one. I see what time it is, so I wanna keep
That's
it
fine.
concise.
You're the only one being encumbered by going over time.
Check this out. This should be good. Get ready, folks. Who in history would you like to have lunch with?
Ooh, I think I answered a similar question to this with Bax, and my answer was, or no, maybe it was Standard Damage. My answer was Kurt Vonnegut. But
I don't even know who that is. Tell me a little Reader's Digest.
Kurt Vonnegut wrote a bunch of philosophical, social commentaries. Sirens of Titan was his most common one. You know the phrase "selling like hotcakes"?
Okay.
He created that.
All right. Sounds like a cool guy.
So the joke is in Sirens of Titan, there's like a high-end business CEO kind of guy in charge of a failing company. And he needed some kind of thing to sound like a good market choice.
You needed a pitch.
So he said, I think the guy asked for investment advice from one of his friends, and the friend says United Hotcakes Preferred or something. And then in somewhere else, there's the phrase selling like hotcakes. So he just like made up this idea of like hotcakes being this.
And I heard that all throughout my childhood.
Right. And so he created that idea. So
you can coin a phrase and get it into society.
Right.
You're a pretty cool dude.
Right. And he's a brilliant guy, and he's done all sorts. I love his short stories more than his novels because he says more with his short stories than he does with his novels, in my opinion. But his command of story, he's done lectures on storylines and stuff like that. I could send you a link to that too.
Yeah, send it
really
over.
cool.
I love looking at stuff. I'm gonna watch that movie too. That was a good answer. All of them have been good answers.
So that's Kurt Vonnegut. But I think I should do a secondary answer since I've already used that answer in a previous show. And then I'm going to throw it back in your face and ask you that same question. So another person in history, probably Beethoven. If not Beethoven, Alkin, who is a very unknown romantic composer. So you had Liszt, right, who was like super piano guy, and you had Chopin, who was super piano guy.
No Chopin.
And then Alkin was the third of those three. And so Chopin was how much can two hands do? Liszt was how much can 10 fingers do? Alkin was how much can 88 keys do? Like there are pages of his manuscript that are more ink than not ink. Like it gets
many notes.
So, and the reason it would be one of those two is because of their ability to create a new genre. And really anyone who's done that, and not just in music, in anything, in engineering, creating a new genre, like the first idea of a microchip, or in architecture,
farming.
The first idea for, using not straight lines, right? Using round support structures, like all these, like doing something that didn't exist and doing it so well that the rest of history just tries copying you for all eternity, right?
The arch.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's used till this day quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now history. Somebody in history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my pop culture answer would be Bruce Lee, because I feel like Bruce Lee would be
not a bad answer. That's not a bad answer.
Very interesting person to speak to and talk to.
Now, would it be Bruce Lee at his peak or Bruce Lee right before he died?
Be cool to talk to both, but probably at the peak. He's riding high. He's saying flow like water. He's talking interviews. He's going around. He's teaching. Probably right there, making movies and all that. Probably be the best time. If I had to, if I didn't have that opportunity, I would totally talk to him, before he went for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then history, communication would be an issue, but one of the philosophers, either Socrates or Plato, and again, we have a magical box that allows us to understand each other in this situation.
Yeah.
That'd be one of the philosophers, because the things that they've said and some of a lot of the stuff scientifically got proven wrong, but a lot of the other things they said is just timeless because it's just stuff about life.
Plato is probably my favorite for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Socrates, Plato, one of the greats. I mean, I would take anybody available, but someone in there in communication willing. That would be my history one. Pop culture, Bruce Lee. Have a lunch with Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Plato.
Probably learn a bunch.
My favorite thing with Plato is his idea of forms. That there's this intangible identity, whether it exists outside of the human mind or if it's the antithesis of the human mind. He was much more spiritual about it, so he would argue that it actually
be down
exists.
With Plato, honestly.
He argued that it actually exists, but I think it's more just a antithesis of the human mind itself. So like a dog, right? If I asked you to show me a picture of a dog, you would have to show me a dog, right?
Right.
And then I could show you a picture of a dog. And it would be a different dog. But both of us would both agree that it's still a dog. And one could have a short tail, one could have a long tail, one could have its tail cut off. One could have long legs, one could have short legs, one could be missing a leg. One could be brown, one could be white, one could be black. What's impossible to do is to draw the dog.
Right.
You can't draw the dog. You can only draw
the idea of
a dog.
Right.
And so his idea with forms, he took a bit more spiritually. So his idea was that there was a spirit dog, right?
Okay.
And the human mind was this connection between the intangible spirit dog and the physical manifestations of dogs.
Of dogs, got you.
I would say that it doesn't have to tap into the spiritual. I think stopping with the human brain is perfectly acceptable as a philosophy of just this concept of there being a thing. It's just the realm of categories, right? And that idea that there's no category, there's no grand category, because you can always create a category that includes that category, right?
Right.
So there's an infinite complexity to it. You can go in both directions, right? You can go infinitely broad, and you can go infinitely specific. I feel like I'm having lunch
with Plato.
Right? So that's one of my favorite concepts with Plato is that idea of forms.
It's a very interesting one because then again,
philosophical
it's like
implications.
I'm a human, you're a human,
right?
But we don't have the human,
right?
I got 3 cats out there, and you got 3 cats, but I can't really show you the cat. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The crazy thing is that I get it.
Right. That's what's so good. That's what's so good about Plato. It's like sometimes Socrates is like, I guess that makes sense. I just don't really understand it. But Plato is always like, oh yeah, no, that I can't believe that we don't have an answer for that because that seems really obvious. Well, I think we lost your mic.
Oh, here we go. We have really gone through it. My call is being weird too. I don't want to end it. I want to get it back where it was. It minimized. We're so close. I'm not going to worry about it.
We'll make it. We'll make it. We can refresh at the break.
Let's go. Let's do an easy one because it is the time that it is. Let's go food and pasta, man. What's your favorite food and what's your favorite pasta shape?
Pasta shape. Oof.
Mine's a wagon wheel.
Wagon wheel. Okay. Wagon wheels are good. Holds a lot of cheese.
Yeah, it holds a lot of anything.
On the topic of holding a lot of things, I like mezzo rigatoni. So you have rigatoni, you have mezzo rigatoni. I like those guys.
Tiny rigatoni, okay.
It's basically just cut a rigatoni into like thirds, right?
Sounds good.
So
Honestly, there wasn't a wrong answer there. All pasta's delicious. Wifey's Sicilian. I
straight
love
up pasta, angel hair. I'll always order angel hair.
I like that too.
I love it.
Now, favorite food type overall.
Favorite food type overall. Ooh. I think I got a little bit into this with Miss Dope Sauce. I do like Thai food, specifically the stir fry.
So do I. Yeah.
So I think if I can say stir fry, I would say stir fry. If I have to get more specific than that, I'd have to say Thai food.
Yeah, both answers fantastic. Most Asian, I can't think, Vietnamese, Korean,
they've been cooking for so many more thousand years than the rest of us. I should hope they have the best food.
It's also good.
Right? I would hope they win in the end because they've had a lot bigger head start.
Chinese, Thai, and then the thing about Thai is there's like 400 kinds of it too.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic, man. I want to come back for season 2.
I'll put you on the list. It's crazy. I have like a list. Like I was expecting to run out by the end of the season. No, I have a list for next season.
Fun.
So I'll definitely put you on the list. But yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you for being here. It's been lovely.
Thank you, man. And I really I didn't know what to expect, but the
philosophical
and the just the levels, dude. And a lot of the footage you're gonna say he's just sitting there. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm trying to keep up, and I'm pretty sure I kept up pretty good. But
you held your end very well.
It was fun. This was fun, and when you were doing the hand stuff, I was there, man. I was seeing that water line on the trees. That would be a scary sight. I think I'm gonna remember that from this discussion the most. Is trying to imagine looking up at a tree. You're down here. There's the water line
2 miles away from the river.
Ooh. Man, that's why hurricanes need to come to Florida. I hate to say it like that, but I don't like them going where they're not ready for them. I don't like it. That's where we're gonna leave it, because in about 12 hours or so, we're gonna be saying what's up to one.
You're gonna see one.
So hopefully,
tell the hurricane everyone here says hi, and
yeah. So have good thoughts for us coming up in the net. I think it's gonna be good, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, CCB. This has been absolutely delightful.
Yes, it has.
I always end with a chance for the guest to promote something.
Come on by the stream, guys.
Before we get there, if I may, this has been Season 1, Episode 11 of Losing Our Marbles, a talk for two with our wonderful guest, CCB. We did it again, ladies and gentlemen. Another solid episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for being here. We will continue with Q&A with chat after this YouTube portion of the stream. Only way to catch that is live. So if you want to be part of that, you got to be here live. It's the only way to do it. CCB, you've got some skin in the game, as they say. More specifically, you actually have a skin in a bacon marble, if you will.
That's true. Yes, we do.
But you're trying to get another skin, I hear.
I am. I'm trying to get
Well, how could my viewers help with that process?
10 a.m. Monday through Friday. Friday's usually 10 a.m.s too, but it could be later. We're raiding all day. I'm just trying to...
Stream Raiders, for those of you who don't know.
Stream Raiders, yes.
We're trying to get
all day
the bacon skin in Stream Raiders.
Gotta get it.
We gotta get it.
I got a marble. I got a skin in the Derby game. I gotta get one of these. I gotta get it.
Well, we'll do our best to help you out with that. And best of luck with you.
Thank you.
Until next time. See ya.